Good Sunday afternoon. Um, I thought maybe I should start by saying, before I start anything else, in case you haven't realized, I don't start with a script. I get on here when I think of something I want to talk about, and I just try to figure out where I'm going to go with it as I talk. So there's no script involved. So if I get off track, you gotta forgive me with that. Today I thought I would talk about fibromyalgia. That was the first illness that I was diagnosed with. I started getting sick at 13. I was officially diagnosed at 16, and it just, at the time the doctor said it wasn't progressive, but I'm telling you it is. Anybody I've talked to that has it, it progresses. You may have times where you feel better, but for the most part it's progressive. There's different types of fibromyalgia. Some people get it happens because of medicine they take, and I suppose that it might not be progressive. I think that it is from what I've seen, people I've talked to. I used to help with the support group when I was one that would talk to the parents that had kids with it, because that's not a common thing. Getting it as a child is not common. You usually get it like the autoimmune diseases in your childbearing years, and it usually is women, not totally. I would figure that it's probably pretty hard for men when they get it, because there's not as much support. There's very little support for us, period, which is why I'm making these videos. But when you're somebody that's kind of an offshoot of it, or somebody that's not normal, that's not the common one to get it, like children or men, it can be rough, because I imagine with men, they have to deal with even more so the idea of why, if it gets severe enough, why they can't work to support their family, and why is something not being, why can't they do something about it. So far there's nothing, no real treatment, definitely no cure. If there was a cure, then I wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. Okay, maybe I would, but not to the same extent. But there isn't a cure. They need more awareness. They need more people talking about it. They need more people speaking out about it, so that maybe they'll start putting it in the right place. At one point, there was a pretty large grant from the government into research on it, and somebody in the National Health yeah, the organization that oversees all the illnesses, I can't think of the name of it, but anyway, they decided to misappropriate it, and they put the money towards breast cancer awareness. Now, again, I am not picking on breast cancer awareness. I'm just saying they know a lot about breast cancer already. There's a lot of people that get it. Yes, it's a horrible cancer to get, but if you do your exams and it's caught early, generally it's treatable, and you can live a long, happy life. They don't know that about fibromyalgia. They don't know much about it at all, other than what the huge number of symptoms that goes along with it. They know to diagnose it that you have to have a certain number of tender points and a certain number of symptoms to meet the criteria to be diagnosed. But those are also fit right in with the autoimmune diseases and chronic fatigue syndrome that I have. It's a hard thing. For children, I can tell you what was really hard for me is, growing up, my friends would be going out to the ball games and going out for pizza or Scotty's, which is an old restaurant that used to be here, or something afterwards, or going to a dance, a school dance after the ball games, and I just couldn't do it. I was lucky was lucky that I was a good student because I missed so much school that the truant officer paid a visit to my house and my parents, and fortunately my guidance counselor at school also knew me and had to go to truancy court or whatever it is with my parents, and she even spoke up and she says, I know that when she's sick, she's not somebody that's sick during the day and missing school and then goes to the ball game at night. She's down and she's sick, and that's true. I would get my books from school from somebody, and I would get my homework, and that's about the only thing I did besides rest. I missed out on a lot of things during that. It kind of led me to, as a part of my choice as far as going to a community college rather than to a campus, because I wouldn't be able to keep up with going as far as to having to run around a large campus to classes. I was afraid of what if I went into a flare, because that's something that happened pretty often. Going to a community college was easier because I could drive and go right to my class. In fact, I even graduated a year early. Why not? I didn't have a social life really. I had friends, but I didn't have a big social life. Why not graduate early? And then I started college on my 17th birthday. 16th birthday? 16th or 17th birthday, which is like in 2 days. It's June 26th. So, happy birthday to me, yeah. But a lot of parents, and when I talk to the parents, it seemed to be usually more so the dads that had trouble accepting that there was something wrong with their child, and not always, but it tended to be usually the dads that they're just being lazy. They're not being lazy. Maybe it's because the moms spend more time with the kids, and traditionally that they realize what their child's like. I mean, my dad, I was fortunate, really went to bat for me. I mean, one of the times he went to the doctor with me, and he laid into that doctor. He told him, he said, "You don't know my daughter." He said, "My daughter is not someone to sit around and be lazy and want to sit around and just want to sit and watch TV or play video games. I didn't like being inside. I don't like being inside. I prefer to be outside doing something. I prefer to be, honestly, even from the earliest age, I prefer to be on my bike. I like to be riding my bike." I think I talked about that in the last video, maybe. And I mean, it's always been my passion, and it's grown into a bigger passion of long distance touring, and it's something that's very helps me get through stress and helps me get through hard times. So when it's taken away, that makes a huge problem for me. But there are so many different symptoms that goes along with it, and not everybody has the same symptoms, so that makes it really confusing. I understand how hard it is for other people and for even doctors to want to make a proper diagnosis, not so much want, okay, that's the wrong word, to make the proper diagnosis, because you got one person coming in, and we may have the tender points in common and the basic criteria, but one person might have POTS along with it. One person might have extreme fatigue. Mine was, the overlap was chronic fatigue syndrome with it, and I'd say, and I still say, it really just depends on my presenting symptoms when I would go into the doctor, what they would say it was. Now, to me, it was always the same thing. Just sometimes the fatigue was way out of, it's something that you can't understand unless you've had it. The fatigue is incredible. It's like just trying to move. There's no energy. It's almost like when you think of when you go to start a car that the battery's dead or battery's dying, and you go start it. At first, it tries, and it tries, but it can't turn over. And the more you keep turning that knob, the more you keep pushing it, the quicker it just goes kip, and it doesn't do anything. That's what it's like. The fibro fatigue's like is I may have a moment of energy, but the more I push it and I don't pay attention and choose my spoons wisely, so to speak, and the quicker I wear down. I mean, my husband's still in bed. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. I've been up since 5:30, and I'm wearing down quick, and he's going to get up and want to start his day and wonder why I'm not going. Why don't you want to do anything? Well, because my days, I basically been up longer than one of your work shifts already, and I'm exhausted, and I hurt. The pain is one of the biggest common factors with fibro, but the type of pain may vary. I have deep muscle pain all the time, but I've always also had, I would say, a skin pain. I mean, it's like I can't stand to be touched. It's like just the slightest. If it's not a soft clothing, I can't take it. Somebody grabbing my arm or anything like that, touching my back, it hurts, and it's not a little pain. The best I feel, I think it's fair to say the best, my best days would be what a normal person would feel with bad cases of the flu. And then people say, well, you don't look like you're that sick. Well, because I've been living with it all my life. It's my choices to do the best I can, or to wallow in what I'm dealing with. And trust me, I wallow in what I'm dealing with quite enough. Oh, there you are, the cat. I think she wants to be a movie star. But if I point a camera towards her, it makes her shut up. But yeah, I this is my life. I have to deal with it the best I can, and I can tell you right now, at this point in my life, with having when the lupus set on too, or got worse. I'm not sure that it wasn't always there, but when the lupus got bad and the RA got bad along with the fibro, this is the hardest time I've ever faced. I don't know how to get past it. I don't get good sleep. I don't sleep hardly at all. I think I mentioned to you, I'm going to the Mayo Clinic trying to get help just to get a reasonable night's sleep, because a lot of nights I don't sleep at all. Other nights I get 45 minutes, half hour, and if I'm lucky, I get 3 to 5 hours. I am beyond tired. I am beyond exhausted. That when you don't get sleep, that makes it harder to deal with everything. I'm sure everybody out there has had nights where they have gone either deliberately or just couldn't sleep for a night or two without sleep. Let's say maybe cramming for some exams, or having to get a project done, or staying up with a sick child, or for whatever reason you didn't get sleep overnight. I know any parents out there that have been through it when the baby's young and you don't get sleep overnight and you think you're going to die because you don't have any, you just going with no sleep is exhausting. Well, yeah, it's it makes you grumpy. It makes you hurt worse if there's any pain. If you're already hurting, it's going to make it hurt worse. A lot of people that aren't already hurting, and normal people, that's when they're getting headaches and they're just snapping out at everybody. Well, that's my life. I don't get sleep. I try not to snap at people. There's sometimes it's just, it does get frustrating. No. Sometimes it gets frustrating. To hear, I've had people say, well, like, well, I've got arthritis in mine, and my hands or my knees or my back too. Yeah, well, you didn't when you were 13. I did. I had considerable arthritis. That was one of the first things that they found along with it, was considerable. At first it was osteoarthritis, before I was even 18. Considerable osteoarthritis before I was 18. You might have it at 50, at 60, at 70. That's normal. You didn't start out your life with, now stop it. You didn't start out your life like that. You had a chance to have a life, and then general things that come with old age, or I shouldn't say that because I am that age now, but you had a chance to have fun. You had a chance to have a normal life. You had a chance to have a career if that's what you chose, and to do it without the arthritis, without the additional pain, without the additional fatigue. You had your life, and you got to build your life. You got to accumulate a nest egg. You got to get all the things that people should be getting when they're young. You got to do that. You didn't have your health standing in the way, so it's apples and oranges. I can feel for you now, but it didn't stop you from, say, being a cheerleader when you were in high school. It didn't stop you from being able to go out with your friends, or it didn't put a damper on your life in the beginning. It didn't make it a challenge for you in the beginning. It's making a challenge for you in retirement. There's a big difference. A big difference. And if you can't figure that out, then you got worse problems than me, I think. Sorry. Like I said, makes you grumpy. I've had to learn to stay away from people that those toxic people. The people that make me feel like less of a person because I'm not what they think I should be. And I still have to deal with it in my own mind. I have to wrestle with it in my own mind when people are... if I've heard their words once, they ring in my head over and over. And sometimes it's just best to stay away from them. It doesn't mean that I don't care about them, that I don't wish there was a different relationship with them. But I gotta do what I gotta do, because it's already hard enough, and I don't need it made harder by people that think they know better than me about my own life when they're never even around me to make those decisions, to make those assumptions. Or the people that just think they can push me harder than that I should be able to go harder than what I do. their issue to deal with, and I'm speaking more to the people right now who are also in my position. That is their problem. That's not yours. That's they make it your problem. I think sometimes it makes them uncomfortable. Sometimes they just don't believe you. Sometimes they just, it's hard to imagine. Try and put yourself in their shoes, I guess. Try and think about, if you hadn't ever felt the way you feel, could you imagine ever feeling that way for the length of time and, everything. It's understandable, but I do wish and pray for all of us that those people could find that same understanding, who they would watch these videos, or they would talk to you and hear your story instead of making assumptions about you, that they would educate themselves and would be more of a help rather than a hindrance. But until then, we have to be the ones that have to put up that fight, and that's not fair. It's not right. It's lacking care and compassion that would be given to people with other diseases that they could see on a screen or something. But that's just, as they say, it is what it is. I hate that saying, but it is what it is. And on that note, I know this is kind of abrupt, but I'm worn out, and my mind's just kind of getting into an angry spot right now that I don't need to be in. So I'm going to wrap this up with just telling you that my friends out there with fibromyalgia and the just other invisible diseases, hang in there. You didn't ask for it. It's not your fault. If other people can't understand it, that's their problem. All we can do is try and get them to understand. That's why I'm making these videos, and that's why I'm asking others to tell your story and get out there and help people understand. In the meantime, it is what it is, and I will be praying for each and every one of you. And have a great day.